So I'm a 32-year-old man, even though I feel like a kid still sometimes, which I don't think is a bad thing. And this isn't an easy thing to admit, but I think a lot more men need to admit this, that I need help. And so I reached out to a therapist, and I had a really good session today, like really good. And the great thing with therapy is that no one there is, or any decent therapist is not going to tell you how to fix your problems. They're just going to ask you the right questions, and sometimes that's all you need. You just need someone to ask you a particular question in a particular way, and what you'll realize is the answers to all the problems that you have are already up there in your head. You just don't know it yet, and you just need someone to ask those right questions. So my big revelation today, at the weekend I signed up for an acting class, and so on Sunday I took the train into London and took my first acting class, and I was absolutely crapping myself. I was really nervous, and I think that's because what I fear a lot is judgment. And so I really feared sort of having to do these really awkward, like, method acting exercises in front of a load of other people and being judged. And the weird thing is that what I found is I built it up to be such a big thing in my head that when I actually turned up to the group, I realised that everybody else was in the same boat, and we were all on this experience learning together. And that fear was definitely very much still there, but it didn't hang around. And towards the end of the class, I felt so much better at just having faced one of my fears. And we all know this deep down, that those things that give you the most fear are often the things that give you the biggest reward. Of course, we're not talking about fighting grizzly bears here or swimming across the Atlantic, but I'm talking about putting yourself out there and being vulnerable. And so what we found really strange was that I actually, although I was nervous about this acting group, it didn't stop me getting on with it, and I actually enjoyed it afterwards. And yet the last video I put out on this channel, I felt like crap afterwards, and I could not help but feel this constant, like, voice in my head that was just permanently judging me, saying that I was being boring, or that my voice was monotone, or that no one wanted to listen to what I had to say. And so we worked on, what was the difference? What was the difference between me putting this YouTube video up, and getting in front of a class of people and acting and pretending? And that was exactly it. Is that in the acting class, I was going to be judged, but I would only be judged based on my ability to act. And I was in a class learning. I wasn't expected to be good, and everyone else was also in the same boat. But when I put a video on this YouTube channel, this is me, and I am being completely vulnerable. And that is the hardest thing to do, because when you put yourself out there and you bare yourself to the world and you get rejected, well, there isn't anything that's much more painful than that. And I think this is a real problem for a lot of people that have been rejected in the past. It could have come from your parents, it could have come from an ex or from friends. I personally had an experience when I was 14, 15, where I felt quite rejected, and that's obviously had a massive impact. And I realised that, like, I've allowed that one experience that I had when I was 15 to hold me back right up until now, till I'm 32. So I have had this experience in my brain for the last 17 years, which has held me back from getting on with doing the things that I want to do with my life. So, not really sure where I was going with this video, but I just wanted to share my experience. I know that women particularly or typically find it much easier to open up. And of course that is the general rule. Well, there's always going to be exceptions to that, but I do find that men in particular really struggle to open up and be vulnerable, and I think that's partly in the culture that we are as well. I know, especially when I was younger, if I'd have opened up to my friends down the pub, that I would have just had the mickey taken out of me, you know. And it's not because they didn't care about me, it's because that they also don't know how to be open and vulnerable and talk about their feelings. So my recommendation for you is to find a safe space to open up and to be yourself and to be vulnerable. And what you'll realise is that people really respect and appreciate that sheer honesty. And yeah, you're going to get people that don't like it. Maybe it triggers something in some people. Maybe some people just don't care, don't want to hear about it, but they're not going to be the people that you want in your life anyway. So you've got nothing to lose by being vulnerable. You're going to attract people into your life that can resonate with you and that you're going to have much deeper friendships with, and you're going to cast aside anyone that would have judged you and not been good for you in the first place. So yeah, my tip today is for men and for women, but particularly for men: find a space, open up, be vulnerable, whether that be a men's group. There's some really good men's groups, whether you meet in person or whether you meet online. It doesn't really matter. Start with something that you feel comfortable with, but that pushes you slightly out of your comfort zone. And then if you can afford it, or if you've got access to it through your National Health Service or whatever, get therapy. And also realise that if you've ever had therapy before and it didn't work out, that you just sometimes need to find the right therapist. You've got to remember that they're human beings too. They are all trained in different ways, and certain people you're going to resonate with and some people you're not, and that's no reflection on you or on them. But just give it a chance, because I promise you it's life-changing. So yeah, have a great day today, and thanks for listening.